Hayato was an ugly nobody like you until an alien infection turned him into the ultimate weapon. Hoping to lay low, he joins a magic academy only to find out he can share his powers through a kiss, and now every baddie on campus suddenly wants a makeout session before class. It all started years ago when Hayato and his best friend were attacked by a monster known as a savage. Despite trying to shield her from the savage, Hayato, being ugly and powerless, couldn't do much as the monster sliced his friend in half and infected her with a virus. Now in the present, Hayato has leveled up by scoring the highest in a compatibility test for a savage hunting weapon known as the 100, and is sent to a well-known academy to learn how to fight the savages. As he arrives, he finds two girls eagerly waiting for him. However, since he is in a committed relationship with his left hand, Hayato quickly avoids the huzz and goes straight to the entrance ceremony held at his new academy. But before he can find his way, he is surrounded by a group of students who instantly recognize him as the geek who outdid everyone. Before they could tear off his clothes, Hayato uses the chaos to escape, only to be pinned down by another crazed fan who greets him like he has all the Pokemon cards. The boy then introduces himself as Emil, revealing he is a new student like him. After the introductions, they head inside for the ceremony arranged by the student council. The president, Claire, and her juicy watermelons are about to start the ceremony when the two girls assigned to welcome Hayato enter the auditorium. They apologize for being late, but it's all in vain as Claire instantly announces they'll be expelled and sent to Attack on Titan Universe as punishment. That's when Emil tells Claire she is abusing her authority as president. Hearing this, Claire tells him that following rules is important, but when Emil continues to retaliate, Claire ends up expelling him, which causes Hayato to finally show some courage. He objects to the expulsion as the girls were late because of him. Upon hearing this, Claire challenges him to a duel. If he manages to win, then she'll cancel the expulsion. Before he can say anything, Emil eagerly accepts the challenge on Hayato's behalf. Later on, Hayato yaps about being on bad terms with the hottest pair of jugs in the entire academy, while Emil remains overly confident that they'll be able to defeat the queen. Together, they head to meet Charlotte, the lead researcher on the 100 project, who is accompanied by her quirky assistant Mei. Charlotte is genuinely surprised a newcomer would be reckless enough to challenge the strongest student, and when Emil asks how she already knew, Charlotte introduces them to Lisa, the academy's supercomputer, which communicates on its own and oversees everything in the institution. Following that, Charlotte hands Hayato his 100, explaining that it is a weapon-specific designed to combat savages and that its form adapts based on its user. After, Hayato and Emil move to a training room where Emil explains how to activate the 100 before stepping aside. Hayato gives it a try, and upon activation, his 100 takes the shape of a Chevalier type. Emil, visibly thrilled by this, unveils his own 100 without hesitation. Hayato is surprised that Emil already has one, but he brushes it off, vaguely saying that some things happened. He activates his weapon, revealing it as an Innocence type. Before Hayato can ask any further questions, Emil declares they'll be jumping straight into a trial by fire and launches his cannons at him. Startled, Hayato instinctively raises his hand, activating an energy shield that blocks the attack. Although he tries to scold Emil for the surprise assault, Emil reminds him that Claire won't go easy on him either, then launches another round. This time, Hayato dodges with lightning speed but ends up slamming into a wall, unable to fully control his abilities. Emil commends his instincts and reassures him that he's capable of winning. Afterward, Emil declares that he's ready, but Hayato remains unsure. Just then, he notices several missed messages from his sister and suddenly remembers he was supposed to visit the hospital after the ceremony. When Emil asks about it, Hayato explains that his agreement to attend Lethal Garden was based on the condition that his sister would receive top-quality medical treatment. Later at the hospital, the vegetable named Karen greets him coldly for arriving late but then gestures for a kiss on the cheek. After he complies, she forgives him and asks about the entrance ceremony. Before he can get into the bizarre details, the nurse with cannon honkers interrupts and announces that visiting hours are over. Hayato returns to his dorm, only to be shocked at the sight of Emil in the room completely undressed. Embarrassed, Emil hurls random objects at him, one of which knocks Hayato unconscious. When he wakes up, he finds his head resting in Emil's lap, and in his panic, they end up bumping heads. Hayato begins to grow suspicious about Emil's true identity, but Emil deflects by casually revealing that they're actually roommates. As a peace offering, Emil offers to mend Hayato's damaged uniform. However, while sewing, Emil pricks his finger, prompting Hayato to instinctively grab his hand and suck the blood to stop it. He then patches it up and explains that ever since surviving a savage attack years ago, he finds it unbearable to see anyone hurt without stepping in to help. The next day, the long-awaited duel finale begins as Hayato and Claire meet on the battlefield with the entire arena watching. Lady outlines the rules of the match, stating it will conclude once one of them is either knocked out or disarmed. Claire, however, decides to add a twist and declares that she won't be using her full-body armament. Hayato, clearly unfamiliar with the term, asks what that even means. Claire explains that it's essentially the Hundred's most powerful form, capable of ending the battle in an instant, which she believes would be too dull for the audience. Just then, Emil radios in to offer Hayato support during the match. Although Erika points out that it's technically cheating, Claire allows it, reasoning that Hayato is still a new student. As the match kicks off, Hayato uses his super speed to charge at Claire, but instead of launching a proper attack, he clumsily ends up grabbing those milky white pillows.
Yeah, boy.
Outraged, she demands an explanation, but Hayato finds himself in La La Land. Refusing to forgive him, Claire retaliates by firing her cannons. But as Hayato dodges, she closes the distance, lands a punch to his stomach, and kicks him across the arena. Just before she delivers another blow, Emil urges Hayato to activate his energy barrier, which manages to shield him from the attack. Emil then starts scolding him for grabbing Claire's chest, asking what happened to Bros before Hose. Hoping to land a solid hit, Hayato closes in, but Claire effortlessly blocks his blade with one hand and taunts him for being a wimp. Emil urges him to use his next technique, so Hayato focuses his energy until his sword begins to glow. He leaps into the air and fires an energy blast toward Claire. However, as the dust settles, her floating cannons form a protective shield, leaving her completely untouched. Claire commends him for at least putting in some effort, then powers up her finisher and blasts him from the sky. Despite the devastating hit, Hayato refuses to back down. Claire, impressed by his determination, decides to meet his determination with her Buster Cannon. As she prepares to fire, something awakens within Hayato. His eyes change color, and he moves with hyperspeed to launch an attack. Claire barely manages to dodge, leaving the crowd stunned to see her on the defensive for the first time. She quickly counters and gets him close to her cannon, ready to finish things when suddenly Hayato activates his full-body armament, which is rare for a student who just joined. Not giving Claire the time to adjust, he strikes her hard. Desperate, Claire finally activates her own full-body armament, but even then, Hayato charges in without hesitation, prompting her to unleash a barrage of projectiles that pierce through his protective barrier. She then powers up an enormous cannon blast and fires it. The impact proves too much for Hayato, and he crashes to the ground, completely defeated. Emil rushes over to check on him, and after confirming he's alive, confronts Claire for breaking her promise not to use her ultimate form. At that moment, Charlotte arrives and declares Claire the official winner according to the rules. However, Claire refuses the victory, admitting that she feels as though she lost to herself. Charlotte proposes calling it a draw, and Claire agrees before walking away. Later, Hayato wakes up to find Claire standing by his bedside. He immediately assumes he must have lost and asks about the expulsion. Claire surprises him by saying she canceled it, then begins interrogating him about his identity, pointing out that no beginner should have been able to corner her. Hayato insists he's just an ordinary student, and before the conversation goes further, Emil walks in and demands to know what she's trying to pull. Claire brushes off the confrontation, claiming she was merely offering an apology, then takes her leave. The following day, Emil invites Hayato to visit the business district since they have a day off. When Hayato agrees, Emil gets excited at the thought of spending the day together, treating it like a date. As they stroll through the area, people can't help but stare at Hayato after his high-profile match. Emil tries to take his mind off the attention by offering him a taste of his cream. While students nearby gossip about how close the two of them seem, Emil then suggests one last stop, which turns out to be a romantic location known for couples. Before Hayato can tell Emil that he is being super fruity, his sister calls, saying she did a reading and saw a dark, ominous female presence around him. When he denies being with anyone, she decides to verify for herself and shows up in person. Upon arrival, she questions Emil, asking if he's really a guy. When he confidently states that he is packing 11 inches for brats like her. In the end, Karen accepts his answers, though she warns him to not stick it in Hayato's brownie. While exploring, they stumble upon a broadcast of the pop idol Sakura. Karen reveals she'd love to attend one of her concerts, prompting Hayato to promise he'll make it happen. Later on, they head out to eat, where they run into Claire, Erika, and Lidi. Karen instantly identifies Claire as the one who gave Hayato trouble, and bluntly asks why she looks like she sells her feet on OnlyFans. Offended, Claire asks who the rude brat is, and Chris, her assistant, informs her that Karen is Hayato's sister, getting straight to the point. Claire invites Hayato to join a special student council unit called Selections, which allows members to take on missions like professional slayers. Emil immediately volunteers to join as well, but Lidi objects, saying he doesn't meet the qualifications and would only be a liability. In response, Emil challenges her to a duel, and without waiting for her consent, activates his 100, revealing a dragoon type that shocks even Claire. Lady accepts and activates her own 100, determined to humble him. As they begin to clash, Hayato urges Emil to stop since Karen is present, but instead of backing down, Emil shifts his weapon to mimic Lady's, further surprising Claire. The two continue fighting intensely, with Emil changing forms multiple times. Just as things begin to escalate, an emergency alarm goes off. Erica tries to intervene, but Claire tells her to let the fight run its course. Eventually, duty calls and the girls have to leave. When Hayato asks what's happening, Claire informs him that savages have appeared on the Zwei Islands and says she'll get his answer about selections once they return. However, Charlotte arrives and instructs Claire to take the boys with them. The group rushes to headquarters to gather intel on the recent attack and quickly learns that one of the savages is a Trenta class, a threat so severe that Claire decides it's too risky to bring the boys along. She opts to wait for seasoned reinforcements and instructs the girls to move out in the meantime. However, Hayato steps in and pleads to join the mission, reasoning that waiting for backup might cost innocent lives. Charlotte supports him, revealing that Lisa the chat Gift Pro Max had already recommended involving the boys to minimize casualties, since Lisa's analysis is rarely wrong. Claire reluctantly agrees to let them help. On the flight to the island, Erica lays out the strategy. Hayato and Emil will be responsible for handling a standard class savage, while the girls will take on the more dangerous Trenta class. When the boys ask about defeating the Trenta, Claire sharply reminds them to respect the scale of its threat and leave it to the professionals. Once the mission starts, Erica is the first to jump into battle, targeting the savage's vision and blinding it. The girls then activate their 100s, and Erica uses her chains to restrain the creature. With the savage momentarily immobilized, Claire fires her cannon at its head, exposing the core. Lady seizes the opportunity, launching forward with her spear and drilling into the core until it shatters, successfully eliminating the target. Claire contacts the boys over comms to give them instructions, but Emil decides they don't have time to wait for the plane to land. He pushes Hayato out midair, and they both deploy their 100s. While falling, Emil suggests replicating the girls' strategy and fires a volley of cannon blasts to create a smokescreen, giving Hayato an opening to strike. However, his sword fails to pierce the savage's thick hide. That's when Emil swoops in and slices off the creature's arm, giving Hayato a second shot, but again he can't get through. Fortunately, Emil takes aim and fires an arrow directly at its head, destroying the core in one clean hit. Meanwhile, the girls confront the Trenta class using the same method as before, but this time Erica's chains can't hold it. As Lady moves in for a critical strike, the savage swats her away like a fly and slams Erica into the ground. With two team members down, Hayato wants to assist, but Claire orders him to stand down, insisting they've got it under control. She activates her full-body armament and charges up her cannon, only for the savage to counter with a beam attack of its own, neutralizing her shot completely. She prepares to fire again, but realizes she doesn't have enough energy left after her duel with Hayato. The savage fires another blast aimed directly at Claire, but Hayato arrives just in time to pull her out of harm's way. However, his noble rescue is ruined by his hands grabbing on to Claire's mommy milkers. Flustered, Claire asks Hayato if he is acting out because his mom didn't give him enough booby time. He talk is cut short when the savage charges for another attack. Erica warns that dodging would endanger the civilians at the airport, so Claire tells Hayato to raise his barrier. Together, they combine their energy and deflect the blast in two directions, protecting the civilians. Hayato sets Claire down, but she nearly collapses from exhaustion. Emil abruptly interrupts the scene and decides to take on the Trenta class solo. Unfortunately, his attack fails to penetrate the creature's skull, and when the debris begins to fall toward Lady, Emil shields her but is overwhelmed by the savage's next assault, which tears open her battlesuit. The sight of her body triggers a buried memory in Hayato, and he instantly realizes she is the girl from his past. Just as the savage moves in to strike again, Hayato calls her Emilia and rushes in to stop the attack. Emilia is stunned that he remembers and urges him to take Lady and flee. As she moves to help, Hayato is struck and thrown aside, leaving them vulnerable. The Trenta class raises its arm to attack once more, but Hayato's eyes suddenly change as he unleashes his full-body armament again. With unrelenting fury, he defends the girls and enters a berserker state. Emilia tries to reach him, but he doesn't respond and instead launches a barrage of strikes. As he's flung backward, he fires an energy ball in desperation. It misses and veers toward Erika until Claire intercepts it just in time. Claire, now deeply concerned, wonders what's gotten into him. Meanwhile, Emilia realizes drastic measures are needed and kisses him. The act snaps Hayato out of his frenzy, and Emilia tells him they'll discuss everything later as for now, they still have a savage to defeat. The creature fires yet another blast, but under Emilia's guidance, Hayato focuses all his energy into his sword and cuts through both the beam and the savage, finally ending the battle. As the dust settles, Hayato powers down, and Amelia rushes in for a hug. However, Claire quickly interrupts, pointing out the surprise kiss and the recent wardrobe malfunction, forcing Amelia to admit the truth. Later, aboard the plane back, they notice a giant thank you message from the citizens, acknowledging their efforts. Once home, Amelia informs Hayato that Claire has allowed her to continue pretending to be a boy, though she must move out of his room for obvious reasons. Curious, Hayato asks for the full story and Amelia reveals she's a variant, which means someone infected by the Savage virus as a child. When he had tried to suck out the poison, he became infected too, which explains his rapidly increasing 100 score. With fewer than 10 variants worldwide, she had Charlotte track him through his test scores so she could enroll and protect him. Hayato asks about his berserk states, and Amelia explains that the virus activates when he's in danger, driving him into a violent trance. However, she assures him that with time, he can learn to control it just like she has. She offers to bring him tea, but as she walks by, he suddenly falls forward and lands directly on her flatboard. Noticing his reaction, she teases him by asking if he doesn't enjoy kissing her. He stammers, and they begin leaning in for a second kiss only to be caught mid-moment by Claire. Hayato jumps up to explain but stumbles over Amelia and lands a surprise kiss on Claire instead. He quickly apologizes, expecting a brutal response. But to his surprise, Claire remains calm. Amelia notes how suspiciously chill she's being, which makes her mad enough to start a fight with her. After a couple of days, Hayato finds himself engaged in a mock battle with the students named Fritz and Reisha alongside Emil. As he feels himself almost overwhelmed with Fritz's 100, Hayato notes that he can sense the virus taking over him. Before he can lose it all, Hayato reminds himself to calm down and proceed with caution. This time, he successfully unleashes the full-body armament without turning into a reptile. After overwhelming Fritz, Hayato is praised by Emil, who observes how he is able to control the virus pretty well now. Fritz and Reisha join Hayato and Emil, pouting about how they still need to work harder if they want to work alongside Claire and her gang, wanting to be nice. Emil assures the side characters they are strong as not many people can force Hayato into his full-body armament. Suddenly, Erika arrives and tells Hayato that he is being summoned by Claire, who has a special mission for him. Hayato secretly hopes the secret mission involves Claire trying out his salted yogurt. Unfortunately, to his dismay, Claire tells him that he needs to be a bodyguard for the idol Sakura. Hearing this, Hayato comments that Sakura is useless even in this universe and always needs protection. Claire adds that since Sakura will be performing, she wants to feel safe while doing what idols do. Erika takes over the conversation, explaining how they have detected the presence of 7 savages during their mission last month. Realizing the threat of the savages still looms over their heads, Hayato quickly accepts the mission. Claire praises him for his bravery and tells Hayato that since the mission will be rather dangerous, he will be compensated with a handsome payment as a token of gratitude. However, she asks Hayato if there is something extra he would like. Hayato becomes nervous and states that he would like one more thing. At the hospital, Hayato reveals to Karen how he would be working as Sakura's bodyguard. Delighted by the news, Karen expresses how she wishes to meet Sakura too. On that note, Hayato tells Karen that she should start calling him Asian Santa as he got a ticket to Sakura's concert for her. Karen becomes rather happy at the sound of attending Sakura's concert until she reveals to Hayato how she checked his fortune and it appears he needs to watch out for women and water. After a couple of days, Hayato awakens and finds Emil in his bed. He wonders if they spent the night comparing sizes only to sadly recall how she is a girl. Meanwhile, Amelia clings on to his guns and asks Hayato if they can go on a date since they're on the Zwei Islands. However, Hayato informs her that his mission starts in the morning, which means he gotta bounce right now. Amelia pouts but wishes him good luck. Hayato later arrives at the location where he is first greeted by Lady, who asks him if he is prepared for the mission. Hayato affirms and is then greeted by Sakura. Later in the car, Hayato observes Sakura and wonders why someone so famous hired a boy who would definitely fail a DINA test. Noticing Hayato's gaze, Sakura asks him if he is a fan, only to learn that Hayato doesn't vibe to music much. After making small talk, Hayato and Sakura arrive at the hotel room when suddenly, Sakura asks him if he wants to get married to her. She pulls up a video of him taking down a savage and explains that she wishes to get hitched up to the man who is known as the hero of Zwei Islands. Sakura also expresses that while she is afraid her babies will come out looking ugly, she can definitely contact Kylie Jenner's plastic surgeons. Seeing the girl ramble about marriage and popping babies out, Hayato tries to scare her off by asking her for a kiss. Blushing tremendously, Sakura pushes him away and states she needs to go bath. That day, Hayato follows Sakura as she does a bunch of press conferences. After the meet and greet sessions, Hayato admits to Sakura that her energy is off the charts as she appears to handle the attention so well. Later that day, Hayato arrives at the concert's venue where Sakura shows him her 100 called Fairy Tale. While Sakura flies off using her 100, Charlotte and Mia arrive at the site, explaining to Hayato how Sakura incorporates her 100 in her concerts. She also reveals that Sakura's 100 is a rare type as she can create a personal field over a specific period of time, allowing her to create illusions as she pleases. As the day wraps up, Hayato returns to his hotel for a public bath only to find it occupied with Emilia, per her insistence. Hayato joins her and then invites her to a date. Feeling excited, Emilia tries to hug Hayato only to plant her mosquito bites on his face. The next morning, Hayato arrives at Claire's summer house only to find her lounging in a swimsuit.
Nice.
While Erica rubs her down with lube. The sight alone has him blushing like a monkey's glutes when Claire asks if his little soldier is ready for duty. As she poses like a desperate housewife in need of a hot gardener, her bikini top suddenly snaps off, and Hayato gets a tour of her dairy farm. Before his brain can process, Lady emerges from the pool, attempting to knock some sense into him, but she slips on the wet tiles and places her starfish on his face. Things barely calm down before Chris walks in, demanding to know what circus he just stepped into. Claire quickly sobers up and informs Hayato that during last month's savage attack at the concert venue, a rare variable stone had been stolen. Lady explains that this stone is a powerful and rare ore, possibly the reason the attackers might return for more. Claire stresses that Hayato must stay alert and protect Sakura, especially since the stone was meant for her performance. But then, she changes the subject and invites him to a swimming competition, showcasing a swimsuit for him, but when Hayato sees the red Speedo, he immediately vanishes, leaving Claire cursing him and his mama. Later on, Hayato meets Emilia, who surprises him by wearing an actual dress. She tells him she dressed up for him, which makes Hayato freeze like he was asked to explain the plot of Steins Gate. He compliments her, and she lights up with a smile before dragging him to a clothing store where she forces him into a full-on Chad outfit. When she eyes a necklace, Hayato offers to buy it, so she picks it and declares the pendant means she's officially his, which makes Hayato internally sigh at how she is desperate to climb his monkey. But just as things seem to settle, they spot Fritz and Reisha entering the store. Emilia panics and pulls Hayato into a changing booth. While Hayato whispers frantically about escaping, Emilia decides it's the perfect time to flirt, insisting they stay close. He, on the other hand, knows being caught could doom his dream of having a harem as big as Genghis Khan and wants out immediately. Once they make their escape, Emilia offers to grab drinks while Hayato waits by the fountain. That's when he gets a call from Claire, who drops the bomb that Sakura has vanished and her gips is off. Hayato asks if she's mad, and Claire, with the fury of a scorned woman, complains about him shopping with Emilia while she's stuck working. He calms her down by promising to go on a fake boyfriend-girlfriend date with her later, which somehow soothes her rage. Just as the call ends, Sakura materializes in front of him, having tracked him using her own Gape's trickery. She insists on taking him somewhere. However, before they head out to whatever basement Sakura has prepared for him, he tells the idol to contact her manager and assure her she is safe. As they leave, Emilia returns only to find a "sorry I ditched you" text from Hayato. Meanwhile, Claire, now fully aware that Hayato is with Sakura, eaves in her office. Eventually, Hayato and Sakura arrive at the Zui Grand Canyon. She tells him she's always wanted to bring him here since he protected it from the savages. It's a place dear to her and her mother, and thinking about it yesterday made her emotional. As the view calms them both, Sakura starts humming a melody. Hayato immediately recognizes it as the same tune his sister used to hum, which shocks Sakura since only her mother knew that song. Curious, she asks Hayato for his sister's name. When she hears it, her eyes widen, and she asks if he remembers being attacked by a savage downtown. Hayato confirms, and Sakura, now teary-eyed, recalls how two siblings once told her they loved her singing. His words had sparked her dream to become a singer and completely changed her destiny. Hayato asks what happened after, and Sakura shares how her father picked her up, but she later fell ill with a mysterious virus. She lost her voice, and her father, unsure of what to do, sold her to a research lab run by a woman named Vitaly. There, she and other kids were injected with a vaccine made from savage fluids. Many died, but she miraculously survived and regained her voice. Instead of stopping, Vitaly continued injecting survivors, not to cure them, but to create artificial slayers. Sakura painfully remembers singing for the other kids in the lab, trying to ease their pain. Sadly, none made it, and she was eventually rescued by her assistant Sufal, but by then, she had already become a variant. Hearing her story, Hayato admits he too is a variant, and the realization that they share a bond in fate fills Sakura with bittersweet joy. They decide to head back to the main island, and on the bus ride home, Hayato dozes off while Sakura looks out the window, realizing there's still something she has to tell him, but before she can, the bus crashes, and out of the smoke, a savage appears and fires at them. As the savage begins its rampage, civilians evacuate and take cover, while Hayato steps forward to confront the monster on his own. Back at Cake, Claire receives word of the attack and immediately requests assistance from nearby slayers. Chris informs her that reinforcements are on the way, but for now, Hayato is on his own, while Claire anxiously hopes for his safe return. Levy acknowledges that he'll have to hold the line until backup arrives. Out on the battlefield, Hayato quickly realizes that without his variable suit, his mobility is seriously compromised. Just as the savage prepares another strike, Sakura rushes to his side and activates her 100. She explains that although her weapon isn't offensive in nature, she can at least increase his defense. Grateful for her support, Hayato channels his strength into his sword, leaps into the air, and drives it into the savage's core, ending the threat in one decisive strike. Sakura immediately throws her arms around him, gleefully calling him her husband, while Hayato frantically tries to peel her off before the crowd draws any uncomfortable conclusions. Unfortunately, there's no time to celebrate as another savage appears and hurls a blast that overwhelms Sakura's shield. As the idol stumbles, before things spiral further, Fritz and Reisha arrive, launching a coordinated assault on the creature. Moments later, Emilia makes her entrance, announcing herself with a cheerful greeting until she spots Hayato clinging to Sakura, and quickly becomes jealous. But the savage doesn't wait for their drama to play out, and Reisha kicks it back to create an opening. Emilia uses the chance to take out one of its arms, while Fritz targets its head but only manages to dent it. Despite their combined efforts, the savage proves to be a regenerator, shrugging off damage and healing itself rapidly. Emilia leads a second assault, instructing Fritz and Reisha to cover her. She manages to destroy both of its arms, creating a window for Hayato to finish it off. But the savage swats him away and regenerates even faster. Just when it seems they're out of options, Sakura calls out to the creature, and to everyone's shock, it hesitates. Hayato seizes the opportunity, but before he can strike, a mysterious boy suddenly appears and knocks him aside. As Sakura rushes to his side, another girl walks in, carefully watching Hayato's flying swallow technique before replicating his sword using her own trace ability. Meanwhile, the boy named Krovan is joined by his companions, and together they make quick work of the regenerating savage. As the dust settles, the sword-copying girl, Nisat, repeatedly stabs the fallen savage, bathing herself in its fluids. Reisha warns her to stop before the virus infects her, but when her warning goes ignored, she tries to intervene only to be attacked by Nakri, another member of the group. Fritz attempts to retaliate, but Nakri takes him out before he can even pull the trigger. A full-blown clash erupts between the Slayers and the rogue trio. Emilia, frustrated and furious, demands to know who they are and what they want. Nisat, carrying a handful of savage cores, signals to Krovan that it's time to leave. With a smug grin, he states that Vitaly will be pleased with their haul. Sakura freezes at the mention of the name, and before anyone can react, the trio vanishes, leaving the Slayers in stunned silence. Back at Heek, Claire reveals that the group they encountered are called Hunters, Slayers who operate outside any jurisdiction. Chris brings up footage of the earlier savage whose core was also missing, linking it to the Hunters. Charlotte further explains that savage cores have molecular properties almost identical to variable stones, meaning they can be reused into functioning hundreds. Claire warns everyone to keep this intel strictly confidential, then turns her focus to Emilia. She scolds her for dragging in Fritz and Reisha, who haven't yet been authorized to fight, but praises her quick thinking under pressure. Turning to the two recruits, she officially grants them selection status, which they celebrate with obvious excitement. Later that day, Hayato joins Emilia for a walk and apologizes for bailing on their earlier date. She brushes it off, assuring him they'll have plenty more. Meanwhile, Sakura oversees the final concert preparations with a hopeful smile, quietly reflecting on the fact that tomorrow, she'll be singing for all the people she holds dear. That evening, Hayato visits the vegetable in the hospital, where she scolds him for not knowing how to properly cheer at a concert. He sighs at her passionate fangirling when he receives a message from Sakura asking to meet at the beach. There, Sakura opens up about her insecurities, admitting that everyone says her music heals hearts, but it's only because she's a variant and can tap into the virus that's infected so many. Feeling sorry for herself, she says her power is nothing more than emotional manipulation. Hayato insists that's not true, reminding her of how deeply her voice touched him and Karen back when they first met, before she even became a variant. His words bring her comfort, and she wipes away her tears before confessing that she's falling even harder for him. Hayato briefly thinks about skedaddling, but she thankfully changes the subject to tomorrow's concert. The next day, thousands gather for her performance as Sakura activates her 100 and gives the audience a breathtaking show. Hayato and Karen cheer from the crowd, both completely captivated. During her encore, Sakura sings a new song, one that Karen recognizes from the girl they once met at the shelter. The crowd is spellbound, and even those streaming from afar can't tear their eyes away. After the show, Sakura signs an autograph for Karen and promises they'll sing together again soon just like old times. As she leaves, she surprises everyone by kissing Hayato and promising to return to him soon. The next morning, Hayato wakes up to find Sakura on top of him, prompting him to leap out of bed. Claire barges in and accuses Sakura of trespassing, while Sakura clings to Hayato in defiance. Emilia arrives moments later, confused by the scene, and just like that, the girls dive back into their daily battle for Hayato's 4-inch sausage. After having exhausting missions back-to-back, Hayato and his friends arrive at the beach to catch a break. Karen, being the annoying sister she is, also comes along and brings her nurse Miharu along. Upon gazing at Miharu, Hayato realizes her future babies will never go hungry because of those milk bags. Sakura, noticing Hayato's gaze, pouts and clings to his arm, which of course pisses off Emilia, who asks her to maintain some social distance. In response, Sakura sticks her tongue out and drags Hayato towards the water. Now more upset than ever, Emilia prays for Truck-kun to hit her so she can have a baddie glow up. Claire, who had been chilling in the shade, tells Emilia to stop sulking, which only ticks her off more. She angrily confronts the president that she is dressed like a corn star so she can seduce Hayato. After taking a swim in the ocean, Sakura returns to the shore and prepares lunch for Hayato when Emilia calls her annoying for hanging out with Hayato. She also tells Sakura how she is a pick-me for joining Little Garden for Hayato's sake. However, Sakura pays no mind to Emilia's insults as she knows she won the genetic lottery, while Emilia is chopped, so she proudly tells her that she is going to be Hayato's personal idol. Emilia becomes riled up at that, but before she can cuss out Sakura, the idol asks her if she is into men. Emilia smiles, realizing Sakura and the rest except Claire still believe she is a boy. With her secret safe, Emilia assures Sakura that she is close with Hayato because they are from the same hometown. This starts another argument as the girls argue who is a better friend to Hayato until Karen arrives and states she has been with Hayato the longest. So she wins this round, and since they can't fight the sister-in-law, both Sakura and Emilia quietly suck it up. Just when the gang is enjoying themselves, a helicopter arrives at the island and the gang rushes to check it out. Hayato quickly notes the crest of Warslarn Inc. and suddenly, the CO Juder steps out. He instantly greets his sister, Claire, who responds back coldly and asks him why he is here. Juder calmly tells her that he just wanted to see his sister and the warriors of Little Garden. Shifting his attention on Hayato, Juder commends him for being more compatible with the 100 than Claire. With that, Juder orders Claire to follow him back to Little Garden Skik. Before following her brother, Claire tells her underlings that something is definitely up. Once the gang returns to the academy, they are summoned by Claire, who reveals they will be going on an anti-savage cleanup. With the mission name sounding creepy, Fritz asks why he and Raisha have been summoned. Claire informs them that they are now a part of the team and will be going on this mission as well. After exiting the council room, Hayato is called by Juder, who takes him for a chat. As they're walking towards God knows what, Hayato wonders when he should tell Juder he grabbed his sister's hooters. Suddenly, the CEO asks him if he knows the power source behind Little Garden. Hayato replies back, stating that it's the nuclear fusion reactor. Juder smirks and tells Hayato that the official story is just a cover, and then leads him to a heavily secured room, where Hayato's eyes widen upon seeing a comatose girl hooked up to numerous cables. Juder then reveals the girl in front of him is the power source of Little Garden and the commander, Akka. She is Lisa. Hayato further learns that Lisa was the first Slayer and variant ever created through artificial means, and she is also both Juder and Claire's younger sister. Suddenly, the tense moment is interrupted by the sound of a gun cocking. The two turn around to see Claire pointing a gun at Juder, her expression cold and unyielding, as she demands to know why he brought Hayato to this place. Juder calmly tells Claire that he believes Hayato would quickly rise in ranks and become the top Slayer, which means he must know who to protect at all costs. Feeling angry, Claire fires a shot at Juder, who he calmly dodges, being the chill guy that he is. Juder tells Claire that Hayato has divine blood, which makes him capable enough to awaken Lisa. He then orders Hayato to release his energy in the capsule. Hayato looks at Claire for confirmation, and when she gives him her permission, Hayato proceeds to pour his energy in the capsule. However, when nothing happens, Juder states he is in a hurry as Vitaly might come for Lisa sooner or later. Once Juder takes his leave, Claire tells Hayato that he absolutely can't talk about what he saw. Hayato agrees and joins the rest of the gang for his mission. Lady and Erika brief them about how they might face savages and hunters on this mission. As they arrive at another district, Emilia is suddenly tackled by a girl named Claudia, who refers to her as Princess Emilia. Before Claudia can unveil her secret, Emilia forces her to keep her big mouth closed. After calming down, Claudia formally introduces herself and reveals she is part of the Federation of Britannia. Once that's done with, Claudia insists to Emilia to return back home as everyone misses their princess. Hayato asks Emilia what's going on, and the girl finally breaks down and reveals that her real name is Emilia Gutenberg. In other words, she is the princess of the Gutenberg royal family. Claudia then insists for her to come back home, but Emilia firmly tells her she is in love with Hayato, so she can't come back. Realizing that Emilia is lovesick, Claudia challenges Hayato to a duel which she ends up losing. Later, Hayato tells Emilia how she looks more like a runway for airplanes than a royal princess. Emilia ignores him and drags him towards a food stall, unbeknownst of the hunters lurking in the shadows. The following day, everyone is assigned to different squads, and surprisingly, Claudia ends up on Hayato's team. Wasting no time, she declares her intent to prove that girls rock. Before the situation escalates, Claire steps in to remind Claudia that regardless of her desire to take Emilia back, the Academy views Emilia as a vital asset, and they will ensure she remains safe. Upon arriving at their destination, Claire quickly springs into action, effortlessly eliminating several savages on her own. Not wanting her to steal all the glory, Emilia urges Hayato to step up. Claudia, however, deploys her 100 to demonstrate her own strength, successfully subduing one savage and deliberately leaving the final strike to Emilia, who powers up and destroys its core. Meanwhile, the hunters observe the operation from a distance while elsewhere. Squad F takes down a few savages of their own. Raisha receives help from a slayer named Ally, who commends her for showing such strong reflexes. However, the rest of their squad, consisting of Wendy, Fritz, and Leedy, note how Raisha and Ally are using up too much of their energy when they have a long road ahead. Back at Claire's camp, the team gathers around for dinner. Claudia continues to complain that Hayato hasn't landed any finishing blows, but Hayato calmly states that he doesn't mind playing a supportive role. His humility impresses Emilia and further frustrates Claudia. When Erica reports potential rainfall, Claudia casually remarks that only beam weapons could be affected. Later, Claudia suggests they split shifts and take turns sleeping in intervals. Emilia volunteers to stay up with Hayato, but Claire objects, deeming it unsafe. Claudia quickly supports Claire's decision and offers to stay with Hayato instead. Realizing the potential disaster of letting those two pair up, Claire pairs Emilia with Erika instead. Erica, ever the suck-up, suggests they gather firewood before the rain begins. Inside the tent, Hayato finds himself unable to sleep and glances toward Claire. She quietly advises him that rest is part of his duty, all while Claudia secretly listens in with delight. Hours later, Erica receives updated figures from headquarters, revealing they'd taken down 42 savages so far. That night, under a clear, starlit sky, Claire and Hayato share a quiet moment as Hayato reflects on how his sister would have loved such a view, prompting Claire to express admiration for his devotion. She confides in him her hope of building a world where people can look up at the stars in peace. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by Claudia, who playfully remarks that the scene resembles a romantic K-drama, causing both of them to feel visibly awkward. Turning serious, Claudia reports spotting a large shadow near the lake and suggests that Claire and Hayato investigate, while she stays behind in case of emergency. Claire agrees, but Claudia can't resist slipping in a cheeky suggestion that, if no savages appear, the two should consider turning their patrol into a date. Embarrassed, Claire calls Hayato to move out. Once they're gone, Claudia gleefully celebrates the success of her plan, having correctly guessed that Claire harbors feelings for Hayato as she believes that pushing the two together might help eliminate Hayato from her path. At the lake, Claire and Hayato indeed encounter a savage as Claudia reported. When Claire attempts to radio the camp, she experiences a transmission error and decides to proceed without support, assuming they can handle a single enemy. However, as she charges in, she slips on wet ground and drops her weapon, leaving her vulnerable. Hayato quickly intervenes, severing the savage's limbs and destroying its core with a decisive strike to the head. Back at camp, Emilia sticks her head out of the tent. Claiming she can't fall asleep without speaking to Hayato, Claudia feigns concern and informs her that he and Claire have gone to the lake together, framing it as a romantic outing. Meanwhile, Claire removes her suit and enters the lake, discovering it's surprisingly warm due to someone pissing in it. Back in camp, Emilia remains skeptical of Claudia's claim, but Claudia doubles down, advising her to abandon Hayato and return home. Emilia refuses, stating that even if what Claudia said were true, she wouldn't give up so easily. Meanwhile in the lake, Claire inquires about Hayato's control over his variant. Hayato replies that while it hasn't been activated during live combat since the Zwei Islands incident, he hasn't had any major issues. When asked what it feels like, he describes it as if time slows down and his senses become distant. Claire then reveals that although Lisa was also a variant, she was different as she was created by injecting savage fluid into a fertilized egg, making her the first of her kind. Hayato questions whether Vitaly was behind the experiment, but Claire clarifies that her mother, Linus, was actually the one responsible, with Vitaly merely serving as an assistant. Linus believed creating such beings would allow humanity to challenge the gods, though what that truly meant remains unclear. Despite Lisa's exceptional potential, one day she released an unknown power to save Claire, and has remained in a deep sleep ever since. Yet, even in that state, her body provides enough energy to power Little Garden, making her the ace up Juder's sleeve. Claire confesses that her position as captain is partly motivated by her desire to protect Lisa and monitor Juder's actions. Though it may seem selfish, she questions whether that makes her a failure as a leader. Hayato disagrees, revealing that his own motivations come from the need to support his sister's medical care. Claire is moved by his honesty, but their moment is cut short by an emergency call. Claire rushes out of the water and slips, accidentally landing in a compromising position with Hayato. Embarrassed, she accuses him of holding her assets and hurls his suit at him, while threatening to make him take responsibility for the incident. Hayato answers the emergency call, speaking to another Slayer who reports that Squad D has been annihilated by the Hunters, who now appear to be targeting every squad. Claire deduces that the attackers are likely the same ones from the Zwei Islands and suspects they're using jamming signals. Hayato proposes they return to check on the others, and just then, a red flare is launched into the sky, which they come to know as Fritz's distress signal. Claire instructs Hayato to head back and warn the others, while she departs to assist Fritz's squad. Though Hayato worries about her going alone, she reminds him of her responsibilities as student council president. Meanwhile, Fritz is knocked unconscious by a hunter, leaving Lady as the last one standing, though she vows to hold her ground until help arrives. Her attacker mocks her efforts and activates his variant powers. She puts up a strong fight but is eventually thrown aside. Just as Kravana moves in to steal her 100, a powerful blast knocks him back, revealing Claire in her full armament gear. The hunters immediately recognize her as Claire demands information about Vitaly, offering them safety in exchange for cooperation. One of the variants tries to resist, but is swiftly dispatched. Claire warns them that resistance is pointless, even with variant powers. However, storm clouds roll in and rain begins to fall, which is bad news for Claire, whose cannons are rendered less effective in such conditions. Seeing this, Krovan tells his allies Nesat and Nakri how luck seems to be on their side. The hunters quickly attack Claire, and without waiting further, just when Krovan is about to send Claire to see the pearly gates, he's chained by Erica's 100. Claire looks up and finds her squad at the site, which fills her with hope. She rises from the ground and tells the hunters that they cannot do anything now. Krovan is suddenly filled with anger and lashes out, breaking the chains of his confinement. Similarly, Nesat and Nakri retaliate, causing damage to the Slayers. Seeing the hunters act like brats, Hayato steps up to take on Krovan, while Amelia fights with Nakri. The battle between the girls quickly ends as Amelia instantly overpowers Nakri, delivering a punch so hard that it unclogs her poopy brain. Seeing her friend unconscious, Nesat tries to attack Amelia only to lose miserably. In a hopeless attempt, Nesat tries to replicate Amelia's weapon, but the Slayer acts quicker and raises her weapon to stab Nesat's eye. However, before she can do so, Nesat looks at Amelia with her dear eyes and asks her if she's really going to destroy her eyes. In response, Amelia asks Nesat if she uses her eyes as a weapon against humanity or to see an unhealthy amount of reals. Upon overhearing Amelia's words, Krovan scoffs and states the world they have seen is pitiful. The strong oppress the others, while Taylor Swift ruins the environment with her songs. As Krovan's and Hayato's swords clash, Hayato finds himself peeking into the memories of the hunters. He witnesses that as younglings, Krovan, Nesat, and Nakri were taken as slaves and were worked to the bone. Their masters abused them daily until one day they decided to escape. With nowhere to go and nothing to eat, Nesat ended up tumbling down and injured her eye. Fortunately, Vitaly found them and offered them power before it was too late. Despite understanding Krovan's anger, Hayato unleashes full-body armament and tells Krovan he needs to protect the smiles of his friends. A ferocious battle rages on between Hayato and Krovan, both showing no signs of backing down. Claire, observing the fight from afar, tries to stop Krovan by telling him that using too much of his variant power is harmful, but the hunter tells to piss off. Suddenly, a savage in a league of its own presence itself causing Krovan and Hayato to cease their battle. Without giving anyone time to reach, the savage fires an attack towards the direction of Squad B, causing everyone to worry. While the Slayers worry like complete half-wits, Krovan steps up and announces he's going to take down the monster, but in return, the Slayers must allow the hunters to take its core. Hayato tries to warn Krovan, but he hears none of it and charges toward the savage. However, as he inches closer, the savage unleashes a barrier, rendering Croven's attack useless, with frustration and helplessness crawling inside his veins. Croven makes multiple attempts to get to the savage's core, but all are in vain when the monster fires an attack of his own. As Croven falls toward the ground, Hayato channels his energy and leaps to catch him just before impact. Croven opens his eyes and asks Hayato why he would save his enemy. In response, Hayato states that it's what Naruto would do. Hearing this, Croven asks Hayato to protect his friends as he no longer cares about his life. Meanwhile, at the battlefield, Erika advises Claire they should rally up all the savages on the mountain and attack the monstrous savage together. Finding the idea agreeable, Claire contacts Charlotte, and with her help they manage to get the word to all the remaining slayers. Once everyone is on board, Claire turns to Hayato and orders him to deal the final attack. Unfortunately, when the combined attack fails, Charlotte suggests Hayato to kiss Claire so he can share his variant power with her. However, before they can proceed, Charlotte warns Claire that the plan might be successful, but she can't be sure of the impacts it will later cause on her body. Emilia freaks out over it as she doesn't want Hayato to swap spit with Miss Double D's, but everyone ignores her as there are far better things to do than hearing her complain. And just like that, Emilia gets left on scene as Hayato and Claire share a kiss. With the plan in full swing, Hayato charges to eliminate the savage. Once the monster is terminated, Hayato falls in the river. Emilia seizes this opportunity and rushes to smooch Hayato while he's unconscious. After a couple of days, the Slayers board the plane to return back to Little Garden. Erika curiously asks Claire why Judah wants the hunters relocated to the Little Garden when they literally spent 2 episodes fighting them. Claire sips tea with more frustration now as she tells Erika she doesn't know what her evil twink brother has planned. Meanwhile, at the infirmary, Emilia tries to kiss an unconscious Hayato once again when Karen and Sakura arrive. Karen, in shock, asks Emilia what's happening. Emilia nervously reasons with Karen she was just trying to baptize Hayato with her spit. Karen fires back, stating that her bro doesn't need her germs. Suddenly, Hayato wakes up much to everyone's relief. Meanwhile, in a dark laboratory, Vitaly learns that Croven and his friends aren't coming back. However, it doesn't faze her as she announces her plan is ready. Several weeks later, a different squad encounters an unusual type of savage, one that appears to lack a core entirely. During the confusion, Wendy suddenly hears a high-pitched sound just moments before Vitaly appears behind her and knocks her unconscious, stating that the experiment was a success. Meanwhile, the main group returns from their vacation, and Hayato checks in with Claire to get the latest news on the hunters. She explains that they are still being held in the underground facility, and although they have mostly cooperated, they continue to withhold any valuable intel. On another front, investigators managed to locate one of Vitaly's laboratories. However, by the time they arrived, she had already disappeared, taking any important research along with her. Due to this recent development, another joint task force is scheduled to be assembled to help oversee security during Little Garden's upcoming festival. While everyone is concerned about safety, Sakura is buzzing with excitement, boasting about a performance she plans to give, complete with a mysterious surprise. Erika adds that in preparation for the large number of guests, they have ordered several automatic cleaning bots to handle the extra mess. Later, the crew heads over to the airport where, unfortunately for them, they encounter Claudia once again. As expected, she rushes straight toward Emilia in an exaggerated display of affection. Wendy also arrives, prompting Raisha and Fritz to rush over and ask about Ally. However, she informs them that she has not seen Ally since their last mission together. As preparations for the festival move into full swing, Hayato notices Sakura sneaking around the hospital and decides to follow her. To his surprise, he finds her with Karen and Charlotte. It turns out that Karen is the secret weapon Sakura mentioned earlier as she plans to join the concert and sing. Karen reveals her own 100, which enables her to move freely on stage, and Hayato is stunned to learn she even has an affinity for one. Charlotte explains that the medical treatments Karen underwent helped her develop the compatibility. Karen expresses genuine enthusiasm about being able to help others through her singing, which prompts Hayato to offer some heartfelt encouragement. Despite the touching moment, Sakura kicks him out soon after, reminding him that he will have to wait for the actual concert like everyone else. The following day, Claire formally opens the festival, and a flood of guests arrives, keeping the students busy with security and hosting duties. Claudia, much to her own dismay, is assigned to airport security. This only fuels her frustration at not being allowed to stick close to Emilia. Meanwhile, Mei drops by the hunter's cell to serve them generous helpings of food from the festival. After she leaves, Croven questions the kindness they are being shown, wondering if it is just a booby trap. Nakri agrees, pointing out that they were stripped of their hundreds except for Nessat's, since taking hers would render her unable to see. Nessat quietly recalls Amelia's earlier question, while Nakri reminds the others that Vitaly claimed the Slayer's plan to dominate the world. However, their faith in her words seems to be wavering. Elsewhere, Hayato and Amelia take a stroll through the festival grounds. Enjoying a brief moment of peace, Amelia is practically glued to his side, but Hayato is visibly anxious, especially considering that she is supposed to be presenting herself as a meal. Just then, they spot Raisha and Erika wearing maid costumes. While Erika awkwardly tries to explain the situation, Amelia seizes the opportunity to snap a picture, eager to have blackmail material. Once inside, Hayato immediately becomes flustered by the attention, making Amelia jealous that she cannot wear something girly like the others. Overhearing this, Erika decides it is the perfect time for payback and signals the other maids to snatch Amelia away for a surprise transformation. When Hayato expresses concern about her cover being blown, Erika cheekily teases him about how great Amelia would look in the outfit, causing him to blush furiously. After a while, the maids return, proudly revealing Amelia in full maid attire. Since this is an academy for freaks and diddlers, Erika urges Hayato to do something naughty to Amelia. In fact, the entire cafe staff starts encouraging him to feel her up. Amelia, surprisingly, does not object and says a diddling a day keeps the bad humor away. Reluctantly, Hayato reaches out, his hand trembling like a virgin loser, and before he can change his mind, the girls give him a shove, and he falls directly onto Amelia. He ends up grabbing her chest and realizes that flat is indeed justice. As he begins to panic, Erika gleefully snaps several pictures, threatening to share them widely. While Hayato fears for his reputation, Amelia seems perfectly fine with it and even leans in to kiss him at the request of another maid. Hayato looks to Erika for help, but she smugly walks away and resumes her duties in full maid uniform. Meanwhile, Judah arrives at Lidl Garden, wearing a suspicious expression and muttering that the time has come. Back at the academy, Hayato visits Karen before her performance, where Sakura and Sofil drop by to finalize the show's details. Unexpectedly, Judah appears as well and expresses his honor at having Sakura perform at Lidl Garden. He also offers words of encouragement to Karen before making his exit. Soon after, the concert kicks off with Sakura unleashing her 100 and dazzling the crowd with her usual energy and stage presence. During the event, Wendy discreetly switches shifts with another guard and leads Vitaly through a side entrance. Once she gives her access to a restricted door, Vitaly declares her usefulness expired and renders her unconscious. Back at the concert, Sakura wraps up her song and announces Karen as the surprise guest. Though initially nervous, Karen gathers her courage and addresses the crowd, explaining that her dream is to sing for those who suffer from the same condition she once had. She activates her 100, which generates large cards that fuse with her to allow her to stand upright. As she begins her heartfelt song, the audience is immediately captivated. Unbeknownst to them, while all eyes are on the stage, Vitaly is already wandering loose, leaving behind a trail of quiet chaos. After Karen finishes her song, the crowd erupts with applause, and Amelia praises her performance, calling it amazing. Sakura then joins Karen on stage, announcing that they will both sing together. As they start another round, Judar watches from the sidelines, smiling suspiciously. Meanwhile, Claire receives a report about how a security officer found an unconscious girl near the staff gate. Upon closer inspection, she realizes it's Wendy. The officer accompanying her explains that Wendy appears to have lost her memory, but keeps muttering something about a savage without a core. Baffled by the meaning, Claire orders someone to summon Charlotte immediately. As the festival continues smoothly, Vitaly observes from above, remarking that the time is nearly right. In the background, one of the automatic cleaning robots begins to emit a series of rapid beeps. Elsewhere, a group of students notices a mechanical bee. Raisha and Erika decide they can't leave it unattended. Without wasting another second, Erika activates her 100 and restrains the bee with her chains, but it ends up self-destructing. Raisha points out another bee, and this time, she powers up her 100 and punches it, causing it to explode as well. The crowd cheers them on, but their celebration is cut short as more explosions erupt around the area. Realizing the threat, they decide to locate and destroy the remaining bees, leaving the civilians in the care of their classmates. At Lidl Garden, chaos ensues as power in certain areas starts to fail. The team concludes that the bees must be targeting the power relays. Lady instructs security teams to eliminate the mechanical bees while she heads out to assist. Claire wonders who could be responsible until she receives footage of an automatic cleaning robot transforming into a bee. Alarmed, she orders all cleaning robots to be shut down and any still operating to be destroyed. Erika soon sends a report revealing that the bees contain variable stones, which confirms Claire's suspicion that Vitaly is behind the attack. Claire directs Chris to pause the festival and deploy additional slayers to assist with the bees. At the concert, Hayato and Emilia receive notice of the emergency as Sakura informs the audience, attempting to keep them calm. Back at Hake, Claire reviews footage showing Vitaly using Wendy to gain access to Little Garden. Charlotte confirms that Vitaly is likely behind the tampered cleaning robots. With no time to waste, Claire deduces that Vitaly has taken advantage of her brother's invitation and calls for Hayato and Emilia's support. Outside, Erika and Raisha, along with other students and slayers, continue combating the bees. Meanwhile, one of the mechanical bees infiltrates the command center, turning the system's displays red. Simultaneously, at the airport, officers spot unidentified aircraft approaching. Before they can react, the planes crash into the port and rear decks. Hig discovers part of their radar has gone offline. From the wreckage, savages without cores emerge, and conventional weapons prove ineffective against them. As the airport squad scrambles to defend themselves, Charlotte identifies the creatures as replicants. Imitations of real savages created by using stolen stones and cores. Claire quickly instructs Lidi to handle the replicants at the deck while Erika focuses on eliminating the bees. Just then, Hayato and Emilia arrive, and Claire explains that Vitaly has infiltrated the ship. She assigns them to assist the security team while Charlotte assures her that Mei will secure the hunters. Meanwhile, the hunters overhear the commotion. Kroven guesses Vitaly might have come to rescue them, but Nezet points out the festival atmosphere outside. Kroven doubts Vitaly would harm civilians, but Vitaly soon appears in their room. She confirms she is attacking Little Garden and hands them their hundreds, requesting their help. Kroven protests, insisting he won't harm innocent people, and arguing that the residents of Little Garden aren't as bad as he thought. Frustrated, Vitaly activates a device that emits a painful noise, forcing the hunters into compliance. Back on the battlefield, Lidi efficiently handles the replicants, instructing her team to prevent them from nearing the ship. The barrier's power continues to drop, causing concern even for Karen. However, Sakura reassures her, confidently stating that Hayato will resolve the crisis. True to her words, Hayato and Emilia arrive at the barrier, which is now operating at less than 40% strength. In the hunter's chamber, Mei rushes in, but Vitaly ambushes her with a gun. Mei narrowly dodges and tackles Vitaly to the ground. While Mei checks on the hunters, Vitaly shoots her, declaring that she's nothing more than a robot created by Lanus. Taking advantage of the situation, Vitaly urges the hunters to follow her. Despite Mei's attempts to stop them, Kroven attacks her, and the hunters leave with Vitaly. Kroven smashes through walls to create a shortcut, while HQ receives an alert that the hunters are heading towards Sector 11, where Lisa is located. Around the same time, Claire gets a call from Juder, who insists on handling Vitaly himself, claiming they know each other well. Though Claire tries to argue, Judar tells her to trust him and abruptly ends the call. Meanwhile, Hayato and Emilia struggle against the replicants, which are proving challenging as they lack specific weak points. In the facility, Vitaly uses Nakri to deactivate a security system, and gearing Nisat and Kroven. In response, she intensifies her control device, commanding them to submit. Just then, Mei returns and shoots the device out of Vitaly's hands, resulting in a shootout between them. Mei gets injured again while Vitaly escapes. Mei then reassures the hunters as Kroven, noticing her injured leg, expresses concern. Vitaly finally reaches the chamber containing Lisa. However, Juder steps out from behind Lisa's pod, revealing that he anticipated her arrival. Vitaly pulls her gun and vows to take revenge for ghosting her after promising to do their taxes together. She further expresses how she's going to sink Little Garden, but first she'll show the Slayers how they're all powerless. Right on cue, the replicants emit sound waves that torment Slayers across Little Garden, including Hayato, Emilia, and Claire. The rest of headquarters reports that the sound waves are targeting only Slayers, and all throughout Little Garden, those with Slayer abilities are being tormented by the noise emitted from the robots. Meanwhile, back in the chamber, Judar remains calm and even compliments Vitaly on her brilliance, continuing to flirt with her despite the fact that she is pointing a gun at him. However, Vitaly refuses to fall for his charms a second time and coldly declares that she intends to drive him to despair. She then fires several rounds at Lisa's pod, but the bullets fail to penetrate. Undeterred, she continues shooting repeatedly until she suddenly realizes that Lisa is awake, nearly panicking in shock. Juder calmly informs her that Lisa responded to Sakura's song, and then reveals that he has been using Vitaly from the very beginning. Horrified, Vitaly realizes that he even risked the safety of Little Garden just to execute his own plans. When she tries to shoot him in rage, Lisa erects a barrier around Juder, completely blocking the bullets. Once her futile attack ends, Juder casually draws his gun, shoots her, and she collapses to the floor. As she lies dying, Juder cradles her and thanks her for helping him further his ambitions. Despite everything, she admits with bitter regret that she still fell for a boy like him. Afterward, Juder gently apologizes to Lisa for waking her and tells her she may return to rest until the right time arrives. However, Lisa responds that there is something she must do first. Outside, Amelia and Hayato are struggling to fight back amid the overwhelming noise. Hayato tries to stop a Trenta-class replicant, but he is easily knocked aside. At the concert venue, Karen and Sakura are also being affected by the sound waves. Sakura, desperate to help, wishes she had the power to save everyone. In response, Lisa appears and assures her that she does. She explains that Sakura's voice can dispel the sound and urges her to sing for Little Garden. Before departing, Lisa kisses Karen on the head and tells her that she will now be able to stand. Energized, both Karen and Sakura activate their hundreds and begin singing. As their voices resonate, the Slayers gradually regain their strength. Claire quickly realizes that the song is neutralizing the sound waves. Hayato hears the music too and is able to recover. He activates his variant, deploys his full-body armament, and Charlotte gets the replicant with everything he has, successfully destroying it along with a portion of the barrier before collapsing from exhaustion. Concerned, Karen asks about his condition and an analyst reports that his energy is at 0%, but his life is not in danger. Claire begins to relax, but just then, they receive another alert. The Trenta-class replicant is still operational and preparing to fire. As the attack is launched, the hunters arrive and intercept it, though they are clearly worn out. The replicant strikes again, and Nekri is unable to dodge. Krovan urges Nisat to protect her, then uses his variant to go on the offensive. Unfortunately, even with his enhanced power, he is unable to inflict damage and is quickly electrocuted and thrown aside. Witnessing this, Claire decides she has been sidelined for too long and rushes into action. At the same moment, Nisat, desperate to protect her friends, is suddenly overwhelmed by her variant power. She replicates the enemy and transforms into a similar being. After defeating the robot, she loses control and turns on Claire. Charlotte immediately radios in with a warning that Nisat is now in the same unstable state Lisa once experienced, meaning she is on the verge of a massive explosion. Claire asks if there is a way to prevent it, and Charlotte suggests that stopping Nisat's vitals might be the only option. Elsewhere, Lisa appears before Hayato and tells him that he might be the one person who can save Nisat. She pleads with him to protect everyone and then kisses him. Back on the battlefield, Claire is conflicted. Though she hates the idea of harming Nisat, she acknowledges her duty as commander of Little Garden and prepares to take the shot. However, Hayato intervenes and begs her for more time. Claire agrees, but warns that if he fails, she will have no choice but to act. Grateful, Hayato activates his 100 and leaps into the fray. He calls out to Nisat, but she attacks him in response. Amelia rushes in to block the strike and urges Hayato to do what he needs to. With only 3 minutes remaining before Nisat explodes, Hayato desperately tries to reason with her. Unfortunately, his words only worsen the situation, while Claire informs him that he is out of time. In a last-ditch effort, Hayato Charlotte gets forward and strikes Nisat on the head. The blow somehow links his consciousness to hers, allowing him to communicate with her directly. Inside this mental space, he unleashes the love of friendship. Through that bond, he manages to bring her back to her senses and saves her from self-destruction. After the chaos subsides, Amelia runs over and hugs him tightly. Krovan and Nekri approach and express their heartfelt gratitude. Overlooking the scene, Claire watches them silently until Lisa appears beside her and thanks her for protecting Little Garden. Moved by the moment, Claire begins to tear up. That night, the entire academy celebrates with fireworks. Amelia kisses Hayato and tells him that she always wants to be with him. Hayato, finally honest with himself, confesses that he wants to be with her too and kisses her back. At that exact moment, the rest of the group steps out and catches them in the act, confirming the rumors. Out of nowhere, Claudia storms in and gives Hayato a piece of her mind for kissing the princess. As everyone overreacts, Amelia finally confesses the truth to the rest that she is not only a girl but also a princess. Unfortunately, this revelation does nothing to shield her from Claire's wrath, who realizes that some men are into chicks that look like traps. Do you think Hayato deserves a harem? Comment Fat Jugs if you want a tomboy, and as always, if you like anime recaps like this, watch this video.